trust the process, leading the crowd to believe he was dropping a hint that he was going to the Philadelphia 76ers, only to have James insist he did not mean anything by it.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Bowen, here he goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Chambliss delivers! Touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
Welcome into another edition of the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. We're going to talk preseason top 25 rankings again today. If you listen to us on the radio side of things here, we talked Whitman's preseason top 25 here yesterday. Unfortunately, for the YouTube side of things, I didn't realize I had a recording limit on the platform that we use to record the show. So, Whitman, I do apologize. Your rankings never made it to YouTube.
That's fine. That's fine. After what they had to say about you and Ole Miss, I felt so appalled. I don't even want it on YouTube.
Well, that really sucks because here's Whitman's top 25 rankings from yesterday.
Oh, that's going on YouTube?
Yeah, this one's going on YouTube.
Hey, it's good to have you guys back. I missed you all. I really look forward to hearing what you all have to say. Of course, if you disagree with me, you are unfortunately wrong. These are the only correct rankings that have been put out so far in the country. At the end of the season, when we finally finish the college football season around like opening day of baseball,
yeah,
we're going to look back and go, wow, damn, this guy had a point. He was on to something.
We spent a full hour on your rankings yesterday, but and we're going to get to my rankings here in a minute or two here, but just kind of go through and piece together some of the things that you were talking about yesterday. The trio of Big Ten teams just outside of the top 15, the row of SEC teams here, just, from 11 to 8, and then what Ohio State looks like for you to give them the number one ranking.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'll be really quick with this because I'm very interested as to what you have to say about your top 25, but I'll start number one, work my way down. Ohio State returns a Heisman finalist at quarterback, the best player in college football as his number one receiver. They'd lost a lot on defense, but like I mentioned yesterday, as long as a multi-time Super Bowl winning champion defensive coordinator is heading up your defense, I have zero cause for concern for that 11 in Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State probably remains the most talented team in the country. They've got the receiver pipeline. They've got pipelines at every position. They're the most talented team in college football right now. Notre Dame and Georgia shortly behind. Texas, you could make an argument to be a little higher than those two, but both of these teams have either won national championships or played in national championship games the last couple years under these head coaches. Steve Sarkisian has not. Dan Lanning has yet to win anything of super real substance outside of that Big Ten title a couple of years ago. You've got the defending champs right there at number 6. The trio of SEC teams at 8, 9, 10, and then you could group Alabama in there at 11. They just feel like the middle of the pack of the top-end contenders in the conference. Mm-hmm. And I think a true contender in the SEC right now is a top 10 team in football, the same way that I think all three true contenders as it stands in the Big Ten are top 6, top 8 teams in the country. That's how good these two conferences are. The top end is that good. They are ranked, I think, accordingly. I think you see USC and LSU there at a 12 and 13, kind of round out the bottom of those upper tier teams in those respective conferences. Then you've got, I think, the best the Big 12 has to offer at 14 and 15. And then you mentioned it, the trio of Big 10 teams at 16 through 18, probably that second tier of Big 10 teams where, there's a chance they make the playoffs if everything goes right. But you could certainly see them hover between 9 and 3 and 7 and 5. And I don't know if that would quite be enough to get them into the playoffs. And then after that, it's just the most 19 through 25 list I've ever seen. I mean, Tennessee, Utah, Louisville, Missouri. I mean, these teams scream number 21, number 22, number 20 in the country.
I don't hate it. I don't hate the rankings there. And we had talked yesterday, you have no G5 team in your top 25.
I do not.
But you had said if like Boise State's probably, as of right now, the G5 rep.
If I had to go down to like 40, I'd probably find a spot for Boise State inside my top 40, maybe even 35-ish, but Georgia Tech's probably sitting somewhere around 32, 33, 34. Yeah. I'd have a hard time making an argument that there's a G5 team that's better than Georgia Tech right now.
I don't hate it. You mentioned it yesterday. A lot of these G5 teams, G6 teams that have found themselves inside the top 25, North Texas, Tulane, Memphis, South Florida, they all have new coaches. They've all got new head coaches at those programs. And so I don't hate the decision. I don't hate the decision to not include a G6 team in your top 25 here. We'll go ahead and get started with my rankings here. Number 21 through 25. I did include a G5 team at number 25 just because I was trying to decide, okay, who kind of gets that G5 representation in the college football playoff? Because one of them has to, right? Somebody's got to get that bid. And as much as I would love, as happy as it would make me for North Dakota State to get that G5 representation, you've got a veteran head coach in Dan Mullen at UNLV, a veteran quarterback in Jackson Arnold, some good returning production along the offensive line, guys that have played over 800 career snaps along that offensive line there. So I think UNLV, this is probably one of their better chances because if you can, take down Boise State, I don't think you're having to compete with the Tulanes, the Memphises, the South Floridas, and the North Texases of the world this season. So if anybody outside of the Americans going to make the playoff this season, this feels like the year for a UNLV.
It seems like a West Coast kind of year for the Group of Five, but I want to ask, UNLV joined the Pac-12 this year, didn't they? Or they still?
They did not. They stayed in the Mountain West.
Okay, never mind then. If a Pac-12 team is like Boise State, are we calling that Group of Five? I feel like we are, but or Group of Six.
Group of Six.
Group of Six. What a shame. I'll let you go on.
It'll be back.
I just had to gripe about that for a little bit.
They'll come back. I have faith in the Pac-12 to make a aggressive return in the world of college football here. Number 24, I've got Missouri, though. The Tigers, it's all very dependent on the status of Ahmad Hardy. If I knew that he was fully healthy, they're probably, a fringe top 20 team. If I know that he's out for the season, they're probably not in the top 25. But I really, really like what Austin Simmons brings to the table here. They brought in Caden Lee from Ole Miss as well as the transfer. Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz have very quietly just become this, hey, we're going to win 8 games every single year. Sometimes we're going to win 10, but our floor feels like an 8-win team at Missouri under Eli Drinkwitz. And so I've got the Tigers sitting there at number 24, Washington and Damon Williams at 23. I like Damon Williams a lot. And I think Jed Fish has done a pretty good job kind of handling Washington at this point, right? Because they had Kalen DeBoer, they had, the staff that's now in Tuscaloosa, and they went to a national championship game. And then they cleaned house, right? All those guys from that team entered the draft or the transfer portal. The entire coaching staff just up and left town. So the fact that Jed Fish comes in, does a good job trying to kind of contain the chaos. They've done a really good job. Only reason I would say Washington's not higher is because I want to see how that relationship works with Damon Williams after trying to leave the team, not being able to leave the team, and also the timeline of when it happened, right? Because he announced that he was going to leave the team literally like during a funeral for a Washington soccer player who had unfortunately passed away way too young. And so it kind of, caused a rift between the university and Damon Williams. Now, Chris Hummer of 247 Sports, CBS Sports, did put out a really good article about, hey, they're mending this relationship, but I want to see it before I'm willing to believe in Washington a little bit more. Does that make any sense there? Number 22, I've got Florida. We know a lot about Florida. We know the run game is going to be good with Jaden Ball. We know the defense is probably going to be pretty good. Whitman, I think you were the one that said this the other day. It was either you or somebody with Ryan Fowler, I forget. John Summerall's not won less than 9 games. It was you. Okay. John Summerall's not won less than 9 games as a head coach. So you've got a very, very high pedigree of coaching here. You brought in Buster Faulkner as the offensive coordinator who led one of the top offenses in the sport last season here. You've got Dallas Wilson. You've got Eric Singleton at wide receiver. You've got a quarterback in Aaron Philo that's very, very familiar with this scheme already from coming over with Buster Faulkner at Georgia Tech. So I feel like Florida's a team that might be able to, knock somebody off that pedestal. You roll into Gainesville thinking, Greg McElroy said it on his podcast a couple of days ago. You roll in fat and happy because, you're undefeated or you're a one-loss team and you're clicking on all cylinders. You roll into Ben Hill Griffin Stadium fat and happy and you limp out of there stunned because you have no idea what just happened. But now you got an extra L or you got an extra check in that left-hand column there.
And I'll say this about Florida. If I'm being completely honest, from what I know of the SEC, there are few teams that scare me in the conference when their program is clicking. There are a few teams that scare me like the Florida Gators do. Because Florida at its peak is 2 championships in 3 years with the Heisman winning quarterback. That's their peak. So as much as I'd like to cast doubt on the Gators and hope that they're wrong, as somebody that has been a very loud defendant of Kalen DeBoer, I have used the argument multiple times. He wins wherever he goes. He won at the NAI level. He won at the Group of 5 level. He won at the D2 level. He's won at the Power 4 level. I would be a hypocrite and a poor journalist if I used that argument in Kalen DeBoer's corner, but not in John Summerall's. He's won 9 games a year, sometimes 10, sometimes 11, everywhere he's been. And now he's taking that to a program like Florida, where everything from the facilities to the talent to everything but maybe the management, symmetry in Gainesville is as good as it is anywhere in America. So if Alabama fans want to use that argument for Kalen DeBoer, they probably need to be feeling confident about Florida as well if they're going to use that same logic.
Got Iowa sitting here at number 21 as well. Iowa don't know who their starting quarterback's going to be. They're in the middle of a quarterback competition. Doesn't really matter when it comes to Iowa and head coach Kirk Ferentz, right? They're going to play defense. They're going to play the turnover. They're going to try and force you to turn the ball over. They're going to make everything muddy and nasty. And Iowa's not a team that you walk into Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City and say, okay, we need to worry about them. A lot of people overlook Iowa, or I feel like Oregon overlooked Iowa last season, and they come out with a 13-10 win, well, on a last-second field goal.
Oh, I must be thinking of the Indiana game that was 20-15.
Yeah, that was another one that was very, very tightly contested. That was very, very tightly contested there. So Iowa, you may not walk into Kinnick Stadium and just get swallowed whole, but it's like a python, right? They get you in their vice grip. They start to eat you, and it's just a slow digestion for the Iowa Hawkeyes here. That's how they go win football games. And they do have a manageable schedule this season. I understand they got to play Michigan and Washington on the road with Ohio State sandwiched in the middle there. But Iowa, if they handle their business everywhere else, it's 9-3. And if you can go out and turn around and upset one of Michigan, Ohio State, or Washington, suddenly
it's 10 wins.
Maybe you are looking at a 10-win season there in Iowa City. So we'll go ahead and take our first time out for our radio listeners, and coming back on the other side, we'll continue talking
9,000. That's 900-9,000 for a free consultation. No fees unless we win. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than that of other lawyers.
Hey, this is Wyatt Fulton from Tide 100.9. Join us starting on July the 20th for SEC Media Days live from Tampa, Florida, presented to you by Pearl River Resort and the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. We'll bring you live updates, press conferences, and interviews from all 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference at SEC Media Days 2026 from Tampa, Florida, presented by Pearl River Resort. Join us starting July the 20th for a week of content from Tampa, Florida, live at SEC Media Days 2026, presented to you by Pearl River Resort and the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino in Choctaw, Mississippi.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more
Scale, local expertise.
Measurable results for businesses and communities like ours.
Town Square Media Tuscaloosa. Call 205-345-7200. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Keep the water handy and stay cool. Heading into a scorching hot close to the week, and the hot temperatures persist through the weekend. Blazing sunshine, 92, light westerly breeze, clear and warm tonight, mild 74. Friday and Saturday even hotter, mid-90s, feeling like 105 with afternoon thunderstorm chances, and that trend continues right on through the weekend. I'm meteorologist Richard DeWetting for Town Square Media Tuscaloosa.
It's 92 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9. For more coverage of Alabama football, visit us at Tide100.9.com or download the free Tide 100.9 app.
The Crimson Tide will not be denied.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 at 12:30 a.m. WTBC. We're talking preseason top 25 here. Whitman gave his rankings yesterday, and we're going through my rankings now as we look at 16 through 20. Number 20, I've got the Louisville Cardinals there. They return Isaac Brown, one of the best running backs in the country here this season. And by the way, they brought in Lincoln Kineholz, which, if you believe Ryan Day and the Ohio State coaching staff, was in a neck-and-neck battle with Julian Sayin for that starting quarterback job. But we know how good Julian Sayin is, and if Lincoln Kineholz was anywhere near him, then we know Louisville's got a pretty daggum good quarterback on their roster right now with who's expected to become the starting quarterback there in Louisville, Kentucky. Number 19, I've got Penn State. Penn State is another team that's got a pretty manageable schedule this season, and they've got a really good head coach that we could almost always pencil in at Iowa State and Matt Campbell. 8 wins, 9 wins, maybe an occasional 10 or 11 win season. 2 seasons ago, Matt Campbell competed for a Big 12 championship, coaching against Arizona State in the Big 12. And so they brought in 20 plus new faces, over 20 new faces, including quarterback Rocco Becht, who's very, very familiar with Matt Campbell and the system that they like to run there on offense. So Penn State, manageable schedule, familiarity with the play caller, familiarity with the head coach and the scheme and the system. And so Penn State, that's another one that I look at that could they go from zero to hero in year one under a new head coach. Number 18, I've got SMU. Kevin Jennings is back. This is the team. Rhett Lashley's still the head coach. They were in the ACC championship 2 seasons ago. And yes, they, may have fallen off the wagon a little bit in that game, but they stormed back, forced Clemson to have to go down and kick a last-second field goal there. And then last year, they beat Clemson in the regular season in Clemson, South Carolina. You look at SMU's schedule this season here, I'd say their toughest game in conference play is at Louisville on September the 19th. Now, they opened the season at Florida State as well, but games against UC Davis, Missouri State, Boston College in there. Cal's got to come all the way to Dallas there. Toughest game on their schedule that's not in conference play, November 21st at Notre Dame. But, again, Notre Dame's not an ACC team. You can go out and lose that game against Notre Dame and still have a chance to win or compete in Charlotte for an ACC championship and potentially even a playoff spot. Number 17, I've got Utah right behind their former head coach, Michigan, and Kyle Whittingham at number 16 there. The Utes, very, very good football team. Just that's about all I can say about Utah. Very sound, very fundamental football team. They've done a really good job over the last couple of seasons. Even the transition to the Big 12 that I thought maybe they'd be able to be a little bit better than they have been so far. But I like the trajectory of this Utah program. And Michigan's floor, I think I said it. Yeah, I think we said it yesterday, Whitman. Their floor always seems to be, hey, we're going to make a New Year's Six bowl game. Their ceiling is competing for a national championship. And Kyle Whittingham's got the biggest task available to him right now. It might be one of the biggest of his last 10, 15 years, including his Utah tenure there. Can you unlock Bryce Underwood? Can you turn him into the premier playmaker that everybody is expecting him to be? Was committed to LSU, top quarterback in the country, flips to Michigan at the last minute to stay in state there. The biggest question is, can Kyle Whittingham and this Michigan offensive staff unlock what Bryce Underwood is capable of?
Because let's be real here. He is garnering not quite the hype that Arch Manning is, but make no mistake, the expectations are still just as high.
I'd say he's the Arch Manning of the Big Ten.
You're exactly right. If Michigan was an SEC school, there's no shame in admitting it. ESPN talks a little bit more about the SEC than the Big Ten. Wonder why.
Well, they got a contractual obligation.
Wonder why. If Michigan was an SEC school, the same conversations we'd be having about Arch Manning, we'd be having about Bryce Underwood.
I don't hate that. Big physical runner of the football. He's got a cannon attached to that right shoulder. He's got to learn when to dial it back just a smidge. Put a little touch on the ball. And if he can do that, we know Michigan's got the firepower. We know Michigan's got the weapons that they can go out and compete at a very, very high level. Some tough games on their schedule this season. They got to play Iowa. They've got that game against Ohio State late in the season. But I like Michigan under Kyle Whittingham. I think they need to make some changes in that, front office, the athletic director. I'm not a big fan of Ward Manuel, but it's not something that Kyle Whittingham can really affect at this point in his Michigan tenure. 6 months into his time in Ann Arbor. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Moving on through number 11 through number 15 here. And this is where you're starting to see a lot of these SEC teams pile up here. Number 15, I've got USC. Returning a really good running back, returning Jaden Maiava, who last season had, I always forget how I need to phrase this stat to make it make sense. So Whitman, tell me if this makes sense here. Jaden Maiava's 2025 season was top 10 all time in single season passing yards in Big Ten history.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that made sense. Lincoln Riley, he's starting to understand what it takes to go win in the Big Ten. They've made changes to the defensive staff. They've made changes getting more physical on the offensive side of the football as well. A lot less of the finesse, pass happy, air raid type of offensive scheme that you saw him run at Oklahoma and you saw early in his USC tenure. They're getting more physical. And this feels like a year for USC to go out and make a good bit of noise. LSU, I really like the majority of this LSU roster. My big question point, though, is Sam Leavitt. Can Sam Leavitt be what he was as a redshirt freshman 2 seasons ago at Arizona State when he made the college football playoff? LSU's got the horses, right? Harlan Berry, Caden Durham, and those wide receivers, they've got the horses. It's just all about Sam Leavitt. And if I'm banking on Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss with the quarterback, that's a pretty safe bet. I feel like it's a pretty safe bet if you're betting on Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss to unlock a quarterback. So if the health is there, I think LSU could be a sleeping giant this season here. Texas Tech, I did bump them down. I had them higher when the obligatory Brendan Sorsby comment is coming. I did have them higher when Brendan Sorsby was, the starting quarterback, and we were looking at it in the spring before everything came out about him. This is still a really talented roster. They've got some dudes on both sides of the football there. Will Hammond, though, it sounds like he's going to be ready to go for week 1, but I need that last little bit of reassurance before I'm willing to bump Texas Tech back up a little bit. Still a very good football team. They've got a chance to go make it to Arlington for the second consecutive season. No BYU on that regular season schedule. You look at the schedule, and it is one of the easier ones in the Big 12. Feels like, Whitman, you had Houston in your top 25. That's another team that they play Texas Tech on the road in week 3. It almost feels like Texas Tech's run to Arlington to try and, I don't want to say defend their conference championship because nobody can take it away, but repeat as conference champions. It feels like that run can almost be fully culminated in that game in week 3 against Houston, another really talented team that Willie Fritz has put together. Alabama, Oklahoma coming in at 11 and 12 respectively. 2 teams that are in very, very, very similar positions. Could not protect their quarterback to save the life last season. Could not run the football out of a paper bag last season. But 2 really, really, really strong defenses here. Kane Womack and Alabama have had top 10 defenses the last 2 seasons. Oklahoma, led by Brent Venables, we know they're a problem defensively. I've got Alabama a little bit ahead of Oklahoma because it feels to me like Kalen DeBoer and this staff in Tuscaloosa have done a little bit more with less, right? The Alabama roster, we said it, everybody said it, but hindsight's always 2020. It was not the same level that we were used to seeing out of Tuscaloosa over the last couple of seasons. And that's not a knock on the coaches. That's not a knock on Coach Saban. It's just
natural regression.
Yeah, you made some recruiting misses, and you went after guys in the portal that you weren't quite able to go get. They both have made changes in the offensive line, in the running back rooms. Oklahoma brought in a new running backs coach, the guy who recruited Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love to Notre Dame. Alabama brings in a 5-star running back in E.J. Crowell. Alabama fires their offensive line coach, brings in a guy from Oregon that his offense had a 1,000-yard rusher and only gave up 5 sacks last time he coached in college football. NFL experience for the Crimson Tide. Whitman, I'm kind of with you here. It appears to me about 15 is the cutoff where I start to think, okay, these are the teams that if things are starting to hit on all cylinders, if everything's clicking the way it normally does for most of these programs, they can make the playoff. They can win some playoff games, and they have a shot to compete for a national championship. Not saying they've got a shot to win, but they've got a shot to maybe make a semifinal, be competitive in that semifinal game. And if the ball bounces the right way for them, maybe they can make it to, Las Vegas, where the championship is played this year.
And then who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
I will
whatever
say, though,
happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
One thing I've noticed, or I guess two things now, our top 15 will consist of the 15 same teams, unless you just throw an absolute curveball in at number 8 or something.
Here comes Kentucky. No. No. Unfortunately, no. It is the same. I believe it is the same top 15.
And the only team that we have in the same hole is Alabama so far.
I think we've got a couple of other similarities here. If I can, look on the little screen where I've got this tiny graphic, I think we've got a couple of teams in the same spot. But let's find out when we get back on the other side of this break for our radio listeners right here on Tide 100.9, the Deep South College Football Show, 1230 AM WTBC.
Hey, this is Wyatt Fulton from Tide 100.9. Join us starting on July the 20th live from Tampa, Florida for SEC Media Days 2026, brought to you by Taco Casa. We'll bring you press conferences, live interviews, and updates from all 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference.
In cars, message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. Zero tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
It's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more, or visit tremfyaradio.com.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the Deep South College Football Show. We move inside the top 10 here for my preseason top 25 rankings here. BYU, I've got at number 10 there. And yes, I'm really high on BYU this season. They went 12-2 last season, beat everybody but one team on their schedule. And guess what? That one team isn't on their schedule this season. No Texas Tech on the BYU football schedule this upcoming season here. And by the way, their toughest game is that game against Notre Dame. They get that at home. So now Notre Dame, who you'll see they're inside my top 5, obviously. I didn't leave Notre Dame off, guys. Trust me. I'm not that dumb. They get that game in Provo. Notre Dame's got to come to altitude. And a bit of a note on Notre Dame here. We'll talk about them here in a second here as well. But a bit of a note on Notre Dame. Whitman, their first 6 games are against opponents that won 4 or less football games last season.
I really don't enjoy being a part of the general population when they give their opinion a lot of the time. In this case, I'm talking about Notre Dame doesn't play anybody. They freaking suck.
They do play some teams to pulse this. They play both BYU and Miami this season.
That's a tough pill to swallow. Did you say their first 4 or 6 games?
Their first 6 games are against opponents that won 4 or less football games last season, i.e. teams that did not make a bowl game.
Good.
Look at, Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Stanford. That's their first 6.
Okay. Now that you say it, Wisconsin at Lambeau Field, I don't care. That's going to be amazing.
That's going to be
First off, Lambeau Field being used for college games is always fun. I have a very hard time imagining that Wisconsin won't try to get up for that game.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, if you're a kid from California playing for Wisconsin, playing in Lambeau Field's got to mean something to you, playing for the Badgers.
It's got to mean something.
And then I see UNC, maybe there's a chance that turns around. If you're going to trust anybody to fix a disaster, trust Bill Belichick, okay?
Yeah.
But other than that, Rice, Purdue, you're Notre Dame. You hold yourself up here. If all the common folk are down here, why are all the common folk playing all the schools that are as good as you, and you're beating up on us common folk?
Back to BYU here. Their big game is Notre Dame on October the 17th. Probably going to be a night game, right? Because most of those West Coast games are later in the evening. So probably going to be a night game. You're going to be playing at high altitudes that you're not used to playing at, whereas BYU, they're extremely used to playing there because they live there, right? And then you look at BYU, the rest of their schedule there. Arizona, they get that one at home. TCU, no disrespect to Sonny Dykes and the Horned Frogs. That's not a super tough game at TCU on October the 3rd. Iowa State, what the hell are they going to look like this season here? At Central Florida on October the 24th. That's going to be a little bit difficult. Arizona State, you get the Holy War on November the 7th. Baylor at Kansas November 21st, and you end the season with the remnants of a Cincinnati football team that might get punished, might not get punished. I don't know what's going to happen there.
I know they weren't historical rivalry weekend opponents, probably because BYU was always independent for a long time while Utah was in the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I see the Holy War jump around every year. Iron Bowl, the game, Lone Star Showdown, good old-fashioned hate, the Holy War, the Egg Bowl. Play the Holy War on rivalry weekend. I don't know, man. Make it matter that much.
I'm not the one that gets to make these decisions here. That's what I would do.
You've got good programs like with playoff hopes every year. A one-loss BYU team going to Utah last week of the season. They win, they're in. They lose, they're out because they're in the Big 12.
Could mean a lot. I
have a reason to watch Utah and BYU play. I could use a reason.
You've never lived until you stayed up till 2 a.m. to watch BYU in Kansas, as I did, I think, 2 years ago. And Saturday, November 21st, BYU at Kansas. Hey, man, maybe I get a chance to relive my glory days from 2 seasons ago, staying up until ungodly hours to watch that football game.
There are hotlines for people like you.
There are, and I refuse to call them. Number 9, I've got Texas A&M, Ole Miss at number 8 there. These 2 teams I think are really, really close. I trust Trinidad Chambliss a little bit more than Marcel Reed, and so that's literally the only reason I've got Ole Miss ranked ahead of Texas A&M here. Whitman, I've got Miami at number 7, Indiana at number 6. Same 2 spots you had these 2 teams. They both lost a lot from last year's rosters, but Miami adds Damon Wilson, one of the best pass rushers in the SEC from a season ago. They bring in probably, I would say, the best quarterback to hit the transfer portal last season in Darian Mensah. 1 or 2, who do you have in that?
Maybe Levitt, but I'd probably go Darian Mensah.
I would say it seems like Miami, they went after everybody, every big name that hit the transfer portal, right? Sam Levitt, they went after him. Brendan Sorsby, they went after him. They tried to get Ty Simpson to enter the transfer portal, come back from the NFL draft and hit the portal. And yet it seems like Miami, who at the time felt like, 3rd or 4th fiddle to some of these guys that were entering the transfer portal, may have gotten out better than everybody else because Brendan Sorsby, okay, he's not playing this season because of the gambling addiction. Sam Levitt, he's got an odd foot injury that we're just not 100% certain on where he stands right now. Ty Simpson's off to the NFL. Oh, okay, well, Darian Mensah just fell into our laps here.
And loves it in Miami. I will say, it seems like a lot of people trying to recruit Darian Mensah or that weren't trying to recruit him that hard. Dude, go get the quarterback that won an ACC championship for Duke. It's not that hard.
Also brought in one of his top receiving options from last year at Duke as well. Number one offensive tackle in the class, now sitting in Coral Gables, Florida there. So I like Miami a lot this season. And it feels like the ACC is just, all right, it's Miami, and who's going to play Miami and Charlotte? Who's going to lose to Miami and Charlotte for a chance to make the college football playoff? That's what it feels like. And according to the ACC tiebreaker, apparently that's what it's going to be.
But wasn't it that last year too?
Yes, it was. Miami didn't leave the state of Florida until the month of November.
And still
entered the month of November with a loss.
Oh, man, that's unfortunate.
I don't know.
Now, if you want to take a second to gripe about that ACC tiebreaker thing, I saw you tweet about it the other day, and we've got a while before we go to break. If you want to complain about that a little bit.
I've already griped and complained about that enough. Vibes. That's what the ACC is built off right now. Who's going to go play Miami in Charlotte?
Woke up. Louisville.
Yeah. It's just, all right, we want Miami in this game, despite the fact that they've been in this conference for how long and haven't even won the conference once.
Yep.
Made a national championship game before they won the ACC, which is one of the tougher conferences in the country if you listen to Rhett Lashley at ACC Media Days. But
we need to go find out where the ACC commissioner's aunt's first cousin's dog walker's doctor went to school. Because if it was at another ACC institution, conflict of interest might pop up. Yeah, we'll send SMU. Oh, why is that? Well, my dad, one of his frat brother's best friends is from Dallas, and he didn't go to SMU, but his dad was a Cowboys fan, and he had a first cousin that actually went to a party at SMU. So SMU, you get to play in the ACC championship.
Yeah, and the fact that SMU's even in this conference is an embarrassment to college football. But hey, whatever. Yeah, the ACC is just, all right, Miami, figure out who you're going to beat in the ACC championship. Is it SMU? Is it Louisville? Does Georgia Tech, after having a really good season and being in that picture until the last 2 weeks of the season last year, does Georgia Tech make their way in there?
Does Sandman enter into Charlotte?
I think we're a year early on them, but I like your thought process. Yeah, I like the thought process. But all that to say, Miami's still a really damn good football team. Mario Cristobal is one of the best coaches in the country. You have to include him and Miami when you look at anybody inside the top 10. And then Kurt Cignetti in Indiana just landed 5-star wide receiver Manchin Sales, who grew up in the state of Alabama, is playing it in the state of Indiana as high school football now. They landed a commit from him today, the first ever 5-star in Indiana football history. If they're going to start hitting on that level, in addition to what Kurt Cignetti did with, Fernando Mendoza and friends last season, could be a dangerous time in Bloomington. And I think the Hoosiers could be a very dangerous squad in 2026. Josh Hoover transferred in from TCU to be the starting quarterback for this team. Second year that they'll start a transfer quarterback. And if it went half as good as it did last year for Fernando Mendoza, Josh Hoover and Indiana are going to be right back in the Big Ten title race this season.
In the playoffs, if they are half of what Mendoza was able to put out this year.
Yeah.
But it's like I said yesterday, I'm really interested to find out just how good Fernando Mendoza was. Because you remember during the Rose Bowl, he didn't just outduel Ty Simpson, or their run defense didn't just stuff Alabama's run game, or they didn't just run the ball down the field. And that was every game they played. They beat the hell out of everybody in every aspect of football last year, in every game.
Suffocated everybody but 3 teams that they played.
You couldn't score on them. You couldn't run the ball on them. You couldn't throw the ball on them. Okay, so often we'll just have to keep it low scoring. Well, no, you can't stop them through the air because they've got the Heisman. Okay, we'll just stuff the run game, try to pray. No, they're going to go run for 240 yards.
Nah, here comes Keelan Black and Roman Hemby.
How good was Fernando Mendoza? Because they did everything in the 99th percentile last year.
He was damn good. He won the Heisman Trophy.
We're going to find out.
First overall pick for the Las Vegas Raiders.
We're going to find out.
Indiana's another really dangerous team this season. I don't know that they'll hit that same level that they did last year, but you've got to acknowledge what Kurt Cignetti's done. If he's not in your top 2 coaches in the sport currently, your list might be a little invalid. I'm still partial to Kirby Smart, 2 national championships, winning the SEC consistently at a very, very high level the way that he is. I still probably would put Kirby Smart number 1, But I think that gap's a lot tighter than a lot of people in Athens or around the SEC are willing to believe when it comes to Kirby Smart here and Curt Cignetti for the number one head coach in the country. But hey, the reigning national champions, they've got a chance to go do it again this season here. Transfer quarterback, they reloaded via the transfer portal and the recruiting classes. Really, really liked this way this roster is shaping out for Indiana. So a couple of tough games on the schedule. They got to play Ohio State. Seems like that's becoming becoming almost a budding rivalry. It seems like. I understand it's not, it may not be a real rivalry game, quote unquote, in the truest sense of the term. But I mean, you played 2 years ago and Ohio State waxed you. You played last season and Indiana got their revenge on Ohio State to win the Big Ten. Now they get to play again this season here.
This rubber match will tell us a lot.
Could be a lot of fun here when you look at Indiana versus Ohio State here. And Indiana's got a good schedule here as well. It's manageable. Not saying it's easy, but it is manageable, right? You play Ohio State and go to Michigan in back-to-back weeks there with, by the way, a trap game against Nebraska probably the week prior to that Ohio State game. You play USC and Washington late in the year, but I don't want to say you dodge Oregon because, Indiana beat Oregon twice last season. But manageable schedule. Even if you go lose to, Ohio State or Michigan, you still probably have a really good chance of making the Big Ten championship, which would immediately put you in the college football playoff because SEC Big Ten, whoever's playing in Atlanta and Indianapolis, just go ahead and pencil them in as college football playoff teams as well.
Third place as well.
Third place in these conferences as well. We'll go ahead and take our last timeout for our radio listeners, and we will reveal my top 5 here next on the Deep South College Football Show.
This hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
A Texas man who was caught hauling cocaine through Greene County inside of hollowed-out vehicle batteries has been handed a 46-month federal prison term. Tuscaloosa County has landed a $2.3 million grant to help prepare a long idle industrial tract near the Tuscaloosa National Airport for future development. And Theater Tuscaloosa opens up its summer production of Big Fish tonight at the Bean Brown Theater at Shelton State. The run continues through July 26th. For the details on these stories and more free coverage of local news, get connected at TuscaloosaThread.com.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey everybody, it's Gary Harris. Monday morning at 9 a.m. we're going to kick off SEC Media Days week with all the football talk that you can stand. Ronnie Orr will be with me from TiderInsider.com and much more, including your phone calls. SEC Media Days week on the Gary Harris Show beginning Monday morning at 9 a.m.
And no taxes. Again, don't forget to save big this weekend at all 3 locations of Urban's. Tell them Van the Bootman sent you.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Keep the water handy and stay cool heading into a scorching hot close to the week, and the hot temperatures persist through the weekend. Blazing sunshine, 92, light westerly breeze, clear and warm tonight, mild 74. Friday and Saturday even hotter, mid-90s, feeling like 105 with afternoon thunderstorm chances, and that trend continues right on through the weekend. I'm meteorologist Richard DeWetting for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 93 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, y'all. This is Alabama offensive lineman William Sanders, and you're listening to Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
And we roll into the top 5 here on the Deep South College Football Show as we give our preseason rankings here. Again, these are preseason rankings. This isn't necessarily how we predict the entire season to go out. This is just sitting right now on July the 17th. Where do we stand here with these teams? And here is my full top 25 here. Georgia sits at number 5 here. And Whitman, this is really interesting here because a buddy of mine, Randy from How About Them Dogs Cast, he provided us this graphic here. So I'm going to give him credit here. He also has done a video on this. I've got Georgia at number 5 in the country right now. They're the youngest Power 4 team in the sport right now. Then this is the SEC rankings, but they're the youngest team in the Power 4 right now.
Very surprising, given kind of the program that Kirby Smart runs, but I guess I'd assume a massive graduating class last year.
No, they return several starters on the offensive line, both their starting running backs, numerous guys who got great reps at tight end last season. Talon Taylor, who was a great wide receiver for them last year. London Humphreys at wide receiver. Another guy that Jackson really likes. I forget his name. But another one in that wide receiver room. Really, the only two guys they lost at receiver were Zachariah Branch and Colby Young. Brought in Isaiah Canyon, by the way, from Georgia Tech. And then defensively, they may have lost a couple of guys here and there, but most of that secondary is returning, specifically Ellis Robinson and KJ Bolden. Raylan Wilson back as a senior on that linebacking core. So Georgia is one of the youngest teams in the sport. Matter of fact, is the youngest team in the sport.
How young were they last year?
Very. Started a bunch of guys who were getting first-time starting experience.
So Georgia was supposed to kind of fall off the wagon last year.
Last year was supposed to be a down year for Georgia.
SEC champion,
playoff appearance, competitive playoff game against Ole Miss here. So now Georgia, who was a very young team last season, has a crap ton of experience and is still a very young football team, which I know, 20 years old versus 19 years old in the SEC may not mean a ton, but these guys are still growing, learning, and have a lot of football reps left in their system here. So I don't know. Expect to see a lot of Georgia in a lot of these top 5 graphics that you're seeing coming out here. If they're not, then Kirby Smart loves disrespect. He eats disrespect for breakfast. He had a team coming off a national championship, convinced that somebody said they were going to go 7-5, and what they do, repeat national champions a couple of seasons ago. Feels like Georgia's got one of the best shots of the SEC here this season. But back to the top 25 rankings here again. Thanks to Randy from How About Them Blank Dogs Cast for making this graphic and kind of helping us understand how young this Georgia roster is here. Back to the rankings here. Oregon at number 4. Dante Moore's back. DeCorian Moore's back. Behind Ohio State for me because of the coordinators. So they lost both their offensive and defensive coordinator. Tosh Lupoy's now at Cal. Will Stein's now at Kentucky. Ohio State I've got at number 3. Whitman, we've already talked enough about Ohio State. Heisman finalist quarterback, best wide receiver in the country, could be an all-timer in the world of college football here. Is probably going to break every major receiving record for Ohio State this season when you think about the receivers they've had in those rooms. Texas sits at number 2. A lot of talent on this roster. Really, really kind of confident in this Texas team. This feels like the year for Steve Sarkisian and Texas here. Returning Jeff Banks as the offensive coordinator, bringing in Will Muschamp as the defensive coordinator, a guy who's done it at a very high level at numerous major programs in the sport. And then Notre Dame is my number 1 team in the country. CJ Carr's back. Leonard Moore's back to anchor the defensive secondary there, returning those coordinators here. Yes, you lost Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love, but Notre Dame's one of those schools where when it comes to physical play, offensive line, tight end, defensive line, running back, I got no questions there. And like I had mentioned, they play their first 6 games are against teams that won 4 or less ball games last year. So we expect Notre Dame to have a lot of time to kind of figure some things out with their roster here. That'll do it for us today, though, here on the Deep South College Football Show. Whitman, appreciate you for hanging out with us here today. Going to be a lot of fun getting to ride with you here, getting to work with you next week in Tampa, Florida, where we will be at SEC Media Days next Monday.
It'll be fun working with me. You'll find out about the riding. Depends on where we stop and get lunch.
I'm a straight shot guy. I'm going to fill up on gas, and we're gone until we got to fill up again. So
we'll work something out.
Bring some snacks here. That'll do it for us today, though. Big thanks to Whitman for hanging out with us here today on the program. Coming up next on the radio side, The Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.